Quick demo of this video tutorial. In this video, we are going to build ASP.NET Core Web MVC application to implement CRUD operations, insert, update, and delete using Entity Framework Code First approach. So here we have the final output of this video tutorial, an employee registration app. In order to insert a new employee, you can click on this plus button here, then provide the new employee details here. Now submit the form. So here we have the new employee Gavin from Missouri. In order to update the corresponding employee, you can click on this pencil icon here. Then it will populate the corresponding employee back to the form. Then update the employee details here. I will change the office location to Texas. Then submit the form. So here we have updated employee office location. Then in order to delete an employee, you can click on this trash icon here. Then here we have the confirmation message. Are you sure to delete this record? Click on OK. So here we have deleted corresponding employee. So from this tutorial, we can learn a lot of things like how we can get started with ASP.NET Core web applications, how we can use dependency injection from ASP.NET Core, then how we can use Entity Framework code to implement CRUD operations. So please watch till the end of this video tutorial. Before starting this video, I would like to ask you a favor. If you found this video helpful, please thumbs up this video. If you are new here, please subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon to get notification about my new videos. Most of the video lesson here also has a written blog post. You can find the link in video description. You can grab code from there as well. What's up YouTube? Welcome to CodAffection. This is an ASP.NET Core tutorial for web app. In this video, we are going to implement CRUD operations, insert, update, and delete in ASP.NET Core MVC application. In previous video, we have implemented master detail CRUD operations in ASP.NET Web API with Angular 7. I have given the link in video description. Before getting started with this topic, I would like to thank for your PayPal donations for my previous works. In order to make more helpful and quality tutorials like this, you can support this channel through PayPal donations. I have given the donation link in first comment and video description. Without further ado, let's get started. Here is my Visual Studio 2017. First of all, we have to create an ASP.NET Core MVC application. For that, you can go to File, then New, then Project. From the left panel, select .NET Core under Visual C#, then select ASP.NET Core Web Application. Then name your application here. I will name it as ASP.NET Core MVC CRUD. Then select the location where you want to save this application. Then click on OK. From this window, make sure that here we have selected .NET Core and latest version of ASP.NET Core 2.2. Then select this template web application model view controller. We don't want to configure this application for HTTPS, so I will uncheck this configuration option here. Leave other options as it is. Click on OK. So here we have a brand new ASP.NET Core 2.2 MVC application. Before continuing with this project development, I would like to give you a quick intro into .NET Core and ASP.NET Core. So, .NET Core is an open source of .NET framework. It runs on Windows, Linux, and Mac. While ASP.NET Core is a complete rewrite of ASP.NET Web Framework in .NET Core with some additional features. So let's look what we have inside this Solution Explorer here. So here we have the dependencies for this entire application, and here we have the properties. Inside that we have this JSON file, launch settings. Inside that we will have the debug settings for this project. And here we have the folder www.root. Inside that we will store static files like CSS, JavaScript, and other libraries like Bootstrap, jQuery, and jQuery validation, etc. Along with that, here we have the fav icon for this web application. After that, we have these folders, controllers, models, and views. So this is similar to the MVC folders that we used to have in our traditional ASP.NET MVC applications. After that, we have this JSON file app settings. Inside that, we will store the configuration details required for this application. And here we have the program.cs file. If you have worked in C# applications, you must have seen this function static void main. It is like the starting point of all this application. So here we have called this function create web host builder, which in turn create a new instance of the startup class here. And here we have the middleware of this application. Inside this class, we have two main functions, configure services and configure. So inside this configure services class, we will add required services for this ASP.NET Core application. So here you can see the default code for the cookie settings for this application. After that, from this service object, we have called this add MVC function. So without calling this add MVC function, this will be a console application in ASP.NET Core. So this code right here will make this ASP.NET Core into ASP.NET Core MVC application. After that, we have this configure function. Inside this function, we will decide how do we want to process an HTTP request. So first of all, here you can see the exception handling based on the running environment. After that, we have set the static folder, and here we have set the cookie policy, and finally we have set the routing for this application. This is similar to the routing configuration that we have seen traditional MVC applications. Controller will be home by default, then default action method will be index. Following first URL parameter will be treated as the action method parameter ID by default. Now let's start developing this application. As you have seen in quick demo of this video lesson, we are going to implement CRUD operations in a .NET Core application with entity framework using employee details like full name, employee code, position, office location, etc. For that, first of all, we have to define the model for the database. In this application, we are going to use entity framework core. In traditional ASP.NET MVC applications, we were using EF6 entity framework 6, while here we are going to use entity framework core. Entity framework core or EF core is a complete rewrite of entity framework in .NET Core. In traditional entity framework, we had two approaches like DB first and code first, while in case of entity framework core, we have only one code first approach. So let's look how to do CRUD operations in entity framework core inside this .NET Core application. For that, first of all, we have to define the DB context class inside this models folder. So right click on this folder here, then add class. I will name this class as employee context. In order to use entity framework core inside this application, first of all, we have to install the NuGet package. So right click on this project here, then manage NuGet packages. Then inside this browse tab here, search for Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Then use the same version as that of this .NET Core application here. Here we have a .NET Core 2.2 application, so we can use this 2.2 Entity Framework Core version. Click on install. So here we have successfully installed the Entity Framework Core. Now back to the employee context here. Here we are going to inherit this class employee context from DB context class. In order to add the corresponding using statement, hold Control, then press period. Now click on this using statement Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Now let's add the constructor for this class. For that, you can use this snippet CTOR, then double tap. For this constructor, we will have this parameter DB context options. It's of the type employee context. as options. I will tell you why we need this constructor parameter of the type DB context options in a bit. After this constructor, we will call the base constructor. Into that, we will pass these options. Now into this context options parameter, we have to pass which type of DB provider we are using, and we have to pass the corresponding connection string. There are a lot of DB providers which support Entity Framework Core like SQL Server, MySQL, PostgreSQL, etc. So let's look how we can pass value for this constructor parameter inside this ASP.NET Core application. For that, we are going to use dependency injection inside this .NET Core application. Don't be afraid of dependency injection. I will tell you what it means in a bit. In order to do the dependency injection, here we have the startup class here. Inside that, we have this function configure services. Inside this function, we are going to do the dependency injection for DB context of the type employee context. For that, we just need to do this services.add DB context. It's of the type employee context. Now let's add the appropriate import statement. Now this will create an instance of employee context class. Now inside this employee context class, we have this constructor with this parameter of the type DB context options. Into that, we have to provide the provider, which is SQL Server, and we have to pass the connection string also. So first of all, I'm going to save the connection string inside this app settings.json file. So I will add this connection strings. Inside that, we can have any number of connection string. Here we are going to define a connection for development. So I will name this connection as dev connection. Server local /SQL express. Then we have database. I will name it as employee DB. We are going to access this DB through Windows authentication mode. So I will set this trusted underscore connection is equal to true. Now, in order to allow multiple query execution with a single connection, we have to set one more attribute. So here it is, multiple active result sets is equal to true. So here we have saved the DB connection string. Now let's look how we can use this inside this startup class here. For that, we can add this lambda expression inside this function here, options dot. We have to call this function for DB provider, use SQL Server. For that, we have to import this class Entity Framework Core. Inside this function, we can pass the connection string. For that, we can do this configuration dot get connection string. Inside this function, we have to pass this connection name that we have stored here. So let me copy this dev connection. I will paste that here. Now let me tell you what happens during this dependency injection here. So here we have added this DB context inside this service, which is of the type iService collection. Inside this service collection, we can add as much as services that we want to inject inside the project. Means as a result of injection, this service collection will provide an instance of employee context whenever we need. In order to interact with the DB, we don't have to create an instance of employee context class explicitly. ASP.NET Core will do that using injection. In order to access an instance of this employee context in a controller, we just need to create a constructor parameter of this context class. I will show you how to access an instance of employee context from this dependency injection once we create the employee controller. For now, just understand this. We can add services into this services collection like we have done here, add DB context, and whenever we need an instance of the service that we have added into this collection, we can have a constructor parameter of the service type. Then ASP.NET Core will create the instance for us. We don't have to create the instance using new syntax like we used to do in traditional ASP.NET applications. So this is a new feature in ASP.NET Core. In previous traditional applications, we were using NuGet packages like Castle Windsor, Unity, Autofact, etc. By default, ASP.NET Core implements dependency injection. Still, if you don't understand dependency injection in ASP.NET Core, I will explain once we create the employee controller. So back to the models folder here. So here we have the employee context. Now we have to create a model class for employee. So right click on models folder here, then add class. I will name this class as employee. Now this employee class should represent the table inside the DB. So let's add required properties. First of all, we have the employee ID. Then we have string for full name. Then we have employee code, EMP code. Then we have position, and finally we have office location. So here we have added required properties for this class, which in turn will convert into SQL Server table column, and this class will be converted into a table. Corresponding table name will be plural of this class. It will be employees. By Entity Framework Core convention, this property employee ID will be the primary key. We don't have to explicitly set that using data annotations, though I will set that using data annotations. For better clarity, we just need to add this key here. For that, we have to use this statement system.component.data annotations. So when Entity Framework Core create a corresponding table for this class, this string columns property will have a type of nvarchar max, which is more than what we need for these columns here. So we can use this column. For that, we have to use this namespace data annotations.schema, then bracket. We can do this nvarchar 250. We need the same for remaining properties also. So let me copy this and pasting here. For employee code, we need varchar 10. Then we have position. I will set it as varchar 100. And we have office location. It will be varchar 100. Now I want to set this full name property as required or mandatory. For that, we can add this annotation here, required. So inside this C# class, we have represented employee table that we want to create inside SQL Server DB. So here we have to set this data type with this parameter type name. So we can do this type name is equal to nvarchar 250. Now let me copy this and pasting same for remaining data annotations. Now in order to add this into DB model, we have to add this class into this employee context class here. So outside this constructor, we have to add one more property, which is of the type dbSet, which is of the type employee, and I will name it as employees. Now let's create the DB using the DB model that we have created so far. For that, go to Package Manager console. If you can't see Package Manager console here, select the project from Solution Explorer, then go to Tools, then NuGet Package Manager, then Package Manager console. Inside this Package Manager console, we just need to do this: add -migration. After that, we have to provide a migration name. I will set it as initial create. Hit enter. As part of this command execution, here we have a new folder with name migrations. Inside that, we have the initial create class for the corresponding model. Now let's create the database. For that, we just need to do this: update -database. Hit enter. So here we have run the command update database successfully. You can see the corresponding database inside my management studio here. Let me refresh this database node here. So here we have the new DB, employee DB. We have given this employee DB name inside this DB connection string here, which we have saved inside app settings.json file. So here it is, employee DB. Now inside this DB, we should have the table corresponds to employee class. So here is the table employees, which is the plural version of employee. So here we have the employees table with required columns. First of all, we have the employee ID, which is set as the primary key for the table. Apart from that, you can see that the same column will be set as the identity specification for the table. So we don't want to insert values into this column. SQL Server will take care of that. It will start from 1. Upon new record insertion, it will increment by 1. We have set this full name as required. As part of that, here you can see that this column should not allow null. So here we have successfully created the employee DB as we expected. Now back to the ASP.NET Core MVC application here. Now let's create the employee controller in order to implement the CRUD operations. For the controller, we can use this employee class as a model. For that, we just need to right click on this controllers folder here, then add controller, then select this template here, MVC controller with views using entity framework, click on add. For model class, I will use employee that we have created, and for the context class, data context class, we can use this employee context, and then I will name this controller as employee controller. Click on add. As a result of MVC scaffolding mechanism, here we have the employee controller. Inside that, we already have required action methods to implement CRUD operations. First of all, here you can see the constructor of the employee controller. It has a single parameter, constructor parameter, employee context as context. Remember the dependency injection that we have discussed inside this configuration services method here. Here we have added this DB context into this iService collections. So whenever we create an instance of employee controller, value for this constructor parameter employee context object will be passed from this iService collection as a result of dependency injection. So this is one benefit of using dependency injection. Now back to the employee controller. Now without further explanation, let me run this project. For that, go to debug, then click on this start without debugging. So this is how the default application looks like. If you want to navigate into this employee controller here, we have to provide the corresponding routes. In order to navigate this index action method here, we just need to do this employee. We don't have to provide the action method index. By default, it is index. Now hit enter. So here we are inside the index action method of employee controller. Inside this index view, we have the table to list all inserted employees. Here we have the create new hyperlink. If you click on that, here we are inside the create action method. Here we have the form to add a new employee. Here we have to make few modifications inside this application development as well as inside the C# controller employee. As a result of creating this employee controller, here we can see the views folder employee. Inside that we have required view files of the extension CS.html. For all of these views, here we have the layout, which you can see here inside this shared folder _layout. So here we have defined the outer container like HTML declaration, then HTML head and body tag. So this @render body will be replaced by the HTML from these views here. Okay. Now we have to make few modifications. For this application development design, we are going to use Bootstrap, which is already added as part of the MVC template that you can see the corresponding link here. Along with this Bootstrap, we have to use phone awesome icons. So let me add the phone awesome icon into this project. So go to the website phoneawesome.com. Now click on this start using free. Now let's copy this link from here and back to the project. You can just paste that right about the head and tag here. First of all, I'm going to make few modifications inside this form for adding new employee. For that, back to the employee controller here, I'm going to rename this action method here, create, as add or edit. With this action method, we will do both operations, insert and update, or add or edit. So I have to rename the corresponding view here, add or edit. For this action method, we have a single parameter ID. By default, its value will be 0. Inside the action method, here we have the return statement for view. So this will return the view add or edit. Into the view, we have to pass the object of the model. So we can do this new employee. Now let's modify this view here, add or edit CS.html. We don't need this h1 element here. Let me remove that. And I will have this heading employee form. Inside this view, we have this form. And for this form, we will have the action method add or edit in order to handle this form submission event. We have to create this action method add or edit to handle this form submission that we can do in a bit. Before that, let me design this form as per our requirement. By default, this form takes 4 columns from Bootstrap grid system. I will use 6 columns from Bootstrap. Then first of all, we have the full name, and then we have form controls for employee code and position. Both employee code and position are placed in 2 different lines. Since employee code need few characters, we can align these 2 controllers in a same row. For that, we can do this. We will add this row here, div with class form-row, and we have to enclose these 2 form group div here with this form row div. Along with this form group class, I'm going to add one more class here called MD6. Same class will be applied to this second form group div here called MD6, so that both of these control will take half of the row. Now we have to modify the hyperlink that we have seen inside this action method here. So open corresponding view index.cshtml. Instead of this create action method, I'm going to use add or edit. Now let me save this. In order to see these updates, let's build this project. For that, right click on this, then click on build, or you can use the shortcut Ctrl+Shift+B. Now reload this page here. So here we have the new updates. Click on this create new button here. So here we have the form, and inside that we have aligned both employee code and position in a same row. Now I want to make few modifications for this label text here. I want to have a space in between full name and here also employee code and office location. We have shown this label full name as a result of this element here. Label ASP4 full name. In order to show a space between full name in text, we have to provide the display name here. So here we have to set the corresponding display name. For that we have to use this namespace component model. Inside that we can do this full name. We have to do the same for employee code and office location also. So here we have EMP code. Then here we have office space location. Now let's build this project again. Then back to the project, reload this view here. So here you can see the new updates. Now before handling the form submission, let's look how to implement form validation here. Back to the model here. Here we have already set this full name as required. So we have to provide a value for full name here in order to submit the form. Otherwise it will cause the validation error that you can see here if you submit the form here. So here we have the validation error. This full name field is required. This validation is implemented at the client side using jQuery validation script, which is already added into the view at the end using this scripts section here. In order to change this validation error message, we have to update the model here, employee clause, and here we have the required attribute. Into that we can set this. For now I will set it as this field is required, and we have to provide this as error message. Now let's build this project again. Back to the project, reload this page. Now let's submit the form. So here we have the updated validation error message. Now let's submit the form. As per the form design, here we have designed this form submission will be handled by the action method add or edit. Inside this employee controller, we already have an action method add or edit. It is to handle get request. In order to handle post request, we need another add or edit of the type HTTP post. As you can see here, create, we just need to rename this as add or edit. As part of the MVC scaffolding mechanism, here we have extra action methods and views. So let me get rid of them first. We don't need this edit action methods, which we can do inside the add or edit action method itself. And we don't need this delete action method of the type HTTP post. Here we have the delete of the type get. Then we have add or edit of the type post. Then add or edit for get request. And here we have details. We don't need this details. Let me remove that. Now let's remove unwanted views from this employee folder here. So that's it. For this action method, you can see this parameter employee of the type employee model class. Here we can see the bind attribute. It just binds corresponding form values from this form into the properties that we have defined inside the model. Okay. Inside the action method, here we have the if statement. It will check whether the posted form data is valid or not. In this case, whether this full name text box value is given or not. We will do the client-side validation using jQuery validator. After that, from the server, we will do this model state.isValid. In order to insert the new employee with given details, first of all, we will call this context.add function, and then we just need to call this save changes function. We are going to do that using asynchronous, so we will call this asynchronous version. After all, we are going to redirect into the index action method where we list all employee records. Now, in order to build this project, I will use the shortcut Ctrl+Shift+B, then back to the project. Here, reload this page again. Now let me try to insert a new employee. So here we have the new employee Ashton Cox from Texas. In order to submit the form, click on this create button here. So here we have successfully inserted the employee Ashton Cox, and here we have shown that inside this table list. Now let's check the SQL Server DB. Right click on this employees table, then select top 1000 rows. So here is the corresponding employee record. Now I want to make few modifications inside this index view here. So let's open corresponding view index.cshtml. Instead of this h1 element, we will have an h4. Inside that, we will have this employee register. Below this heading, let's add a horizontal line. So here we have the table into this class list here. Let's add one more class, table hyphen hover, so that when we hover on the table rows, it will have a gray background. Let me save this, then reload this page here. I want to move this create new hyperlink into this last column heading. So let me cut this and pasting inside this last th element here. Now let's get rid of this empty paragraph. For this element, let's add few classes from Bootstrap. First of all, we have btn, then we have btn outline success. Inside this hyperlink, I want to show a font over some icon, so I will add this I element here. Now let's add the corresponding classes for the icon. So here we have the far, then we have to add one more class, for hyphen plus hyphen square. Then hyperlink text will be employee. Let me save this, then reload this page. So that's it. Now inside this last TD cell for action buttons, I want to make few modifications. So back to the view, here we have the corresponding TD cell. This is for details, we don't need that, so let me remove that from here. First of all, we have the hyperlink for edit or update operation. For this edit operation also, we will use the HTTP GET action method add or edit, which we have already modified inside this employee controller. For insert operation, value of ID will be 0. For update operation, this parameter will have a non-zero value that we have passed from this route parameter ID. Corresponding employee ID will be passed to the ID parameter of the action method. For this hyperlink, we don't need a text. Instead, I will stick with font over some icon. So here we have the corresponding class. First of all, we have the class far, then we have far hyphen marker, then we have one more class for hyphen LG in order to increase the size of this button to some extent. After that, we have this delete hyperlink. So first of all, I will add few classes. First of all, I want to show the text inside this hyperlink as red, so I will use this class text hyphen danger, Then since we have two hyperlinks side by side, I want to add a left margin. So we can use this class ml-1. Now inside this hyperlink, we will have a font awesome icon. Let me copy this and pasting here. Instead of this class far marker, we will have far-trash-alt. Let me save all of these modifications, reload this view. So here it is. Now let's look how to update an employee. For that, we have to click on this edit icon here. Then it will call this action method add or edit from this employee controller. Inside that, we already have this return view statement, which will return a fresh form to insert new employee record. So based on the value of ID, we can decide whether we have an insert or update operation. So I will use this if clause here. If ID is equal to 0, then we can say that we are going to do an insert operation. Otherwise, we are going to do an update operation. Inside this else block also, we have to return the same view add or edit with corresponding employee details that we can retrieve using the given ID. So let me copy this same return statement from here and pasting here. Instead of returning the new instance of employee, we can do this underscore context dot employees dot find function can be called. Inside that, we can provide the ID. So this will return the corresponding employee details. Let me save all of these modifications and then build this project. Back to the application here. Let's click on this pencil icon here. So here we have the return form populated with corresponding employee details, Ashton Cox, employee code, position, and office location. After making required changes, user can submit the form, and this form submission is handled by this action method add or edit of the type HTTP post. Inside that, we have already done the insert operation. Now we have to change this action method in order to accommodate update operation. So first of all, I will add this if clause here. Inside that, we can do this employee.id, employee ID. If it is equal to 0, we will do the insert operation. Otherwise, we have to do the update operation. For that, instead of this add function, we just need to call the update function. Let me copy and paste here. Instead of add function, we just need to call the update function. So this is what we need to do inside this action method. Now we have to do one modification inside this view here, add or edit. When we submit this form here, it will return all the values from the controls that we have specified inside this form control here. So inside this employee controller action method, here we have the bind function called. All of these properties contains a corresponding control inside this form here, other than this employee ID. For insert operation, we don't need the employee ID. For a new record, this employee ID is automatically incremented with respect to the last employee ID. For update operation, we need a hidden field for this employee ID property also. So for that purpose, I'm going to add an input control of the type hidden. So here is the input control, which is of the type hidden. We don't need these attributes, name and value. Instead, we need Instead, we need ASP hyphen 4 is equal to, we have employee ID. Let me build this project and back to the application here. Let's reload this page. Now let's update these employee details here. For that, I will add this suffix with star to all controls in order to ensure update operation is working for all the fields here. Now let's submit the form. So here we have updated the corresponding employee with the prefix start in all these fields here. You can check that inside this employee table also. So here it is. Now I want to make few more modifications inside this form here. I have to change this button text to submit, and I want to move this back to list hyperlink just beside this create button here. Now I want to change this value into submit. Since we are dealing same insert and update operation in a single form, it would be better to update submit instead of create. And so here is the navigation hyperlink for the employee register table. I want to show these two elements, this hyperlink and this submit button, in a same line. For that, we can add this div with class form draw. And let me cut this and pasting here. Both of these divs will take the half of the row. So I want to add this class called MD6. Now let me copy this class from here. We have to apply these same classes for the second div also. Now I want to add one more class into the submit button. Then only it will take the 100% width allotted for this button. So we can add this class btn-block. We have to apply these classes for the navigation also. Let me copy this and pasting here. Instead of this primary, we have btn secondary. Along with this hyperlink text, we have to add font awesome icon. So we have to add these classes for, then for hyphen table. Let me save this, then reload this page. So here it is. It will navigate inside the employee controller action index. Now if you remove this employee from URL, we have the home controller index. Instead of that, if you want to show the employee controller index, you have to update this startup configuration here. Here we have the default controller as home. I will set it as employee. When we change modifications inside C# code, in order to see those changes inside this running application here, we have to build this project again. So here we have the successful build. Now let's reload this page here. So by default, we are inside the employee controller index action method. Now finally, we have to implement delete operation. Now let's look what we got for this delete hyperlink. When we click on this hyperlink, it will call this action method delete and passing the corresponding employee ID into ID parameter. Before doing that, we have to confirm the operation from user side. So I will call the JavaScript function confirm inside the onClick event. So here is the onClick event. Inside that, we just need to call the confirm function. We can ask this question, are you sure to delete this record? We will call this delete action method only when user confirm the dialog for this question, are you sure to delete this record or not? So inside the action method delete, we have to do the delete operation. In order to delete a specific employee, we can do this. First of all, we have this variable employee. Inside that, we have to populate the corresponding employee for the given ID here. So we just need to do this underscore context dot employees dot find async. Inside that, we have to provide this ID. So here we have the corresponding employee inside this variable. Now in order to delete the record, we just need to do this underscore context dot employees dot remove function can be called. Inside that, we can pass this variable employee. Finally, we are going to call the save changes function. We will do that asynchronously. So here we have the keyword await, then context dot save changes async function can be called. We will find the corresponding employee also using async version of the function. So we have to provide the corresponding await keyword here. Finally, we just need to navigate into index action method in order to show updated employee list. For that, we can copy this return statement from the HTTP post action method and pasting here. Let me build this project again. Back to the application here, reload this page, click on this delete icon here. So here we have the confirmation, are you sure to delete this record or not? Click on OK. So here we have deleted corresponding employee. Now let's execute the select statement from Management Studio. So here we have deleted the corresponding employee Ashton Cox. So in this ASP.NET Web App tutorial, we have implemented CRUD operations inside ASP.NET MVC application using Entity Framework Code First approach. You can download this project source code from the link given below in video description. If you found this video helpful, please thumbs up this video, and for more awesome videos like this, please be subscribed to the channel CodAffection. Please like and share this video with your friends and colleagues so that they can benefit from this. Have a nice day. Bye.